This is our news, the weekend edition, and on the broadcast tonight. The opposition leader calls for a probe into the Oasis of the Seas incident. Plus, could a discontinued program at a high school possibly been the solution to averting a teen stabbing? And the Bahamas All-Star Marching Band ready to blossom in the U.S. Capitol.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Good evening, I'm Andrew Knowles, and thanks so much for joining us. Off the top tonight, a major development unfolding today in the case of the recent string of child kidnappings here in the capital. Police held a press conference late this afternoon. Kyle Joaquin was there and has the latest.
We could say that there's a nexus between four of those matters. And the four of these matters, like we said to the media early in our investigation, that we noticed a particular trend that arises from four matters, and they are the four matters that we can say the suspect we have in custody is assisting us with.
According to head of the Central Detective Unit, Chief Superintendent Solomon Cash, the 29-year-old woman was arrested in eastern New Providence and during her police interview confessed to abducting 4 children in separate incidents.
I can say that we suspect, based on what we held before us, is that, and I'm giving you an account based on our intelligence, that these persons, these kids were just left unattended to, and the suspect, based on our information, just took them away from their place of comfort with no intent of harming them.
According to Nassau Guardian records, 7 children were taken during a string of abductions that occurred beginning in February. Cash explained the breakdown with the remaining 3 cases.
That include, because you keep referring to the other 2 matters that are under investigation, I can tell you one of those matters, we know it was a domestic type motive behind that, where some relative removed the kid from the home unbeknown to another relative. So that investigation has been closed. Now the other matter, I think you're referring to a matter that happened someplace in the Culmusville area. That is still under investigation, active investigation. That is one of the matters we are looking at from a major incident room as well. But it does not include the ones we're speaking about today, where we have the 2 suspects in custody.
During the search that spanned over 2 months, police released 4 composite sketches of the woman and a picture of the silver vehicle they believe was used in the abductions. In most cases, the children were dropped off along Tonic-Williams-Darling Highway near the New Providence landfill. In one case, the child was dropped off at a laundromat. No children were harmed. Now, as for the burning question everyone has, why? Cash said police don't want to get into any details.
I cannot speak to the mental state, but I can say that we have no record of the individual being involved or admitted to any mental institutions.
Police have also arrested a 35-year-old woman they believe served as an accomplice in one incident. She was arrested on Eleuthera.
I don't wish to disclose anything that the suspect said to us, but suffice to say that she confessed.
The suspect and her accomplice are expected to be arraigned this week. For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
All right, thanks a lot, Kyle. A 15-year-old boy is dead after suddenly collapsing yesterday. Police say they were called to a shopping plaza on Carmichael Road around 3 p.m. Saturday after receiving reports that a juvenile male had collapsed. Now, the teen was taken to hospital where he was pronounced dead. Police say foul play is not suspected at this time, and an autopsy will be performed to determine the exact cause of death. Meantime, 8 men are in police custody after they were caught in possession of illegal drugs. In the first incident, Drug Enforcement Unit officers searched a home on East Avenue, Centerville, where they confiscated 7 pounds of marijuana with an estimated street value of $7,000. 2 men were arrested in connection with this find. Then around 1 p.m. yesterday, officers executed a search warrant on a home off Tonic-Williams-Darling Highway, where they discovered 5 pounds of marijuana. 6 men were subsequently arrested. Now all men are expected to be charged in the magistrate's court sometime this week. Well, as the family of 15-year-old Perry Rolle Jr., the student stabbed and killed as he left school just a week ago, prepare to lay him to rest, the directors of a program discontinued at the school just 2 years prior say they believe his killing could have been avoided. Our Kyle Joaquin has their story.
In an interview with Our News, Kendra Bowe, Director of the Restorative Justice Program explains how it addressed the root causes of violence among students at T.A. Thompson Junior High, but was discontinued at the end of the school year in 2017.
We worked with them, and then even when it came to counseling or even family intervention, I mean, you know, there were incidents of a student ready to fight a teacher. We're on campus, we're able to intervene in matters like that. And so that's what we did. We brought resolution in order to reduce suspensions because, as I had mentioned previously, there's a direct connection between students who get suspended, who later end up expelled, and then later end up in prison.
A student a part of that program, Perry Rolle Jr. Sadly, less than 2 years after the program was discontinued, Rolle was killed on his way home from school.
I believe that that is a situation that could have been avoided because the team is familiar with both students, the one who lost his life and the one who allegedly committed the act. And so we were familiar with both students, and we worked with their parents as well. And the area that the incident happened would have been areas where Mr. Beckford in particular, who does the evening patrols, would be areas where he would patrol and he's also aware of what's going on, who's vibing, who's got an issue with each other. So he would watch out for those kinds of things. And so I believe that there is a potential that that could have been avoided had this program been approved, and we still could have carried out the work.
When contacted, Education Minister Jeffrey Lloyd offered no further comment on the matter. The slain teen's mother said her son was bullied repeatedly and that the incident was the third time he was stabbed. A 16-year-old has been charged with his murder. And now Bo is calling for the program to be put back in schools, saying they yielded positive results.
In fact, the results were so positive that T.A. Thompson received an award from the district superintendent for the improvement that was done in the school. And the former district superintendent of that school said this program should be expanded upon.
For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
And following the stabbing death of the teen boy, the issue of bullying has risen to the forefront of the national conversation. Our Jared Higgs has that.
I wasn't there. When they called on me, I wasn't there.
It was this reaction by 38-year-old Gladys Lewis to the stabbing death of her 15-year-old son, Perry Rolle Jr., that gripped the nation, provoking a frank conversation on bullying and its causes. Rolle Jr. was stabbed to death back on March 26, and another juvenile has been charged with murder in connection with the incident. Rolle Jr.'s mother says his killing was the third time he was attacked with a weapon, and the 15-year-old resorted to arming himself.
Perry could be a child of any of ours, or a nephew, or a cousin, a neighbor.
The issue of bullying took center stage during Thursday's episode of our TV's On the Record with Jerome Sawyer. The show aimed to address several issues, including how to tell if a child is being bullied. Clinical psychologist at the University of the Bahamas, Dr. BETTIN, says some signs are more obvious than others.
I think some of the obvious things, so if a child has unexplained injuries, is losing property, losing money, that's the obvious things, but I think more often it's more the behavioral or emotional things that you'll see. So behavioral things may be changes in kind of appetite, sleeping, avoidance, maybe wanting to avoid school, avoiding peers, things like that. But I think as parents, we just need to be aware of our children and be paying attention to how's my child doing.
Footage of altercations between school-age children, often wearing school uniform, regularly goes viral on social media. Counseling psychologist K. Darren Turnquest says the prevalence of these videos causes a ripple effect.
We have social media, and we recognize that social media has been buzzing as relates to incidents of bullying or conflicts surrounding schoolyards, or not even inside the schoolyard, but where you see it most often is when young people are leaving the schoolyard and making that truck onto home or to the bus stop. And so the more that you see it on social media, videos via WhatsApp. I saw a KFC footage just the other day of 3 or 4 young ladies having an altercation, and literally when you looked at that, it was an incident of bullying that was occurring.
Rolle Jr.'s father, 48-year-old Perry Rolle Sr., pointed the finger at his child's mother, saying he tried to intervene when he found out about his son's troubles. He claims that he requested custody but wasn't allowed to take Perry Jr. in. He also slammed the country schools and Education Minister Jeff Lloyd, who told reporters that the country schools are safe and Rolle Jr.'s death is a community issue. Founder and Executive Director of Transition Mentorship Program, Duquesa Dean, says while there are ways school teachers can intervene, if they think something is wrong with one of their students, the task may be a steep one.
If you have a student who maybe used to fit in with the popular crowd and no longer is in with that crowd, and they're kind of shying away as well, someone who used to talk to you and is no longer opening up and sharing with you, teachers have so much that they have to balance, right? The classroom, the teaching, the school environment, they're the parent, they're the teacher, they're the friend, and so it's a lot that they have to balance. And being able to have those individual relationships with 40 children may be hard, but definitely just looking at the differences in the behavior, which again could be difficult because from stream to stream, the teacher changes as well.
Reporting for Our News Weekend, I'm Jared Higgs.
Thanks a lot, Jared. Opposition leader Philip Brave Davis is calling on the government to look into the incident involving the Royal Caribbean's Oasis of the Seas that was damaged after a crane slammed into the vessel as it sat in dry dock in Freeport on Monday. His calls come as the Ministry of Transport and Local Government announced the Bahamas Maritime Authority has been instructed to investigate the incident. Our Jasmine Brown has more.
We urge this government to move quickly to ensure the safety, security, and well-being of those injured, and to ensure that measures are taken that incidents such as these do not occur in the future.
The incident, which has garnered international attention, unfolded on April 1st with shipyard management reporting 8 people were injured when the massive crane struck the ship. None of the injuries were considered life-threatening.
Our thoughts and prayers are with those hurt in the unfortunate marine incident at the Grand Bahama shipyard, a major investor in Grand Bahama, on Monday, the 1st of April. We are thankful that there was no loss of life.
In a statement sent out on Thursday evening, Minister of Transport and Local Government Renard Wells said he has instructed the Bahamas Maritime Authority to look into the matter. He said, as both the floating dock and the passenger vessel are registered with the Bahamas Maritime Authority, and given the damage sustained and the potential severity, it is concluded that a maritime safety investigation be conducted in accordance with the Bahamas Merchant Shipping Act and the Casualty Investigation Code. Wells says the BMA will conduct a safety investigation and report its findings, including any recommendations to avoid reoccurrence. Davis says the opposition wants to help in any way it can.
We, the PLP, stand ready to assist wherever we can.
As for Royal Caribbean, the company says it has canceled 3 sail dates scheduled for this month. Oasis of the Seas will return to the water on May 5th. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
On to other news tonight. Just last week, University of the Bahamas officials gave a detailed breakdown of the fee hikes that will be implemented for new students this fall. UB President Dr. Rodney Smith revealing the hikes were a scaled-back version of what was approved by a former board in 2016.
At a meeting held on Wednesday, the 14th of December, 2016, the former Council of the College of the Bahamas approved tuition increases for all students in the amounts of 20% for fall of 2017, 15% for fall of 2018, and 12% for fall of 2019. This would have amounted to a collective 47% over the 3-year period for all students. But this was never enacted. Upon the establishment of the current Board of Trustees, the decision regarding the previously approved increases was rescinded, and a revised tuition and fee structure was approved for new first-year students for fall 2019 only.
Smith says the decision made by the board nearly 3 years ago is proof that a tuition increase has been deliberated at the UB Council and UB board level for quite a number of years. He says that's not surprising, as tuition has remained unchanged despite the rising operational expenditures needed to meet the needs of the university.
I must emphasize that for approximately 20 years, tuition has remained unchanged, despite the rising operational expenditures necessary to meet the needs of our multi-campus and growing academic community. Starting in fall of 1998, tuition increased from $25 per credit for lower level courses. In that year, the cost was changed to $50 per credit, a 100% increase. In 1999, tuition increased to $75 per credit, a 50% increase. And in 2000, tuition was further hiked to $100 per credit, a 33% increase.
UB officials plan on implementing a 15% increase in tuition for new students. There will be other fee hikes. The application fee will jump from $40 to $50. The late registration will jump from $150 to $250, and the add drop fee will increase from $20 to $25. The country's premier youth marching band will hit the international circuit again this week as they prepare to head to the U.S. Capitol to perform in the National Cherry Blossom Festival Parade. The Bahamas All-Star Marching Band leaves for Washington, D.C. on April 11th with a contingent of more than 100 band members, dancers, directors, and parents. Band director Yonel Justilian says it's the first time the band has been invited to participate in the parade, which is one of D.C.'s largest spectator events.
They're going to be marching about a couple of miles, right there, right in the area of the White House and the monuments areas. So, and you're talking about viewers up to, couple of millions and what have you. But physically, because of the duration and the length of the parade, we have them marching around the school premises just to physically get fit.
The band has been around for 7 years now, and in that time, Justilian says hundreds of its members have benefited from music and academic scholarships to attend university abroad. In fact, he says they'll be making a stop at a popular D.C. university.
We're going to do a stop by Howard University, where we have one of our alumni there as well, and we also have one of our members, present members who's sitting in the group, who just received a scholarship from Howard University, so that's exciting.
For band members Aaron Humes, Chelssi Johnson, and DONTE Ferguson, they're excited at the opportunity to travel.
This is my first trip, and being in the band has been a great experience. It has taught me to know more about music, and Mr. J has taught me a lot.
How excited are you about traveling to DC and representing, the country at the festival?
Very. I haven't been to Washington before. It will be a great experience for me. Yeah. Yes, I'm very nervous. Never been to perform overseas before.
I feel very good because this is my first trip. But when I went to Ireland, I learned a lot about Ireland, and I want to learn more about Washington D.C. when I go there.
The Cherry Blossom Parade will take place on Saturday, April 13th. Still ahead tonight, one immigration activist weighs in on the newly proposed immigration law. That story and more coming up when our News, the Weekend Edition returns.